As you can probably tell by the lack of leaves on the trees, it's getting a bit colder this time of year. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips here on what you should start doing with your computers now that the weather's changing and all that stuff to help, get a little bit more life out of it. There's some things people do this time of year that basically will cut down the life of your computer pretty quickly, simply because it's colder and things are getting colder. Okay, so first thing we're going to go over is with laptops. There's a couple of things you're going to have go on with these with the weather getting cold. If you go through and you leave your laptop in your car, you go inside, do something, or you leave it in overnight in your vehicle, whatnot, and then you take it out to go use it, you're going to find that your battery level is going to be probably significantly lower than it was when you charge it up, so to say. If you charge it to 100%, you might find that it's down to like 70% or 80%, just because of the coldness just sapping away the energy in the battery. It does depend on the type of battery. Sometimes some are more prone to it, some are less prone. But in general, the lithium ion is what everything's using now, and those really tend to drop a lot of power just from being out in the cold. So that's the first thing you're going to see. The next thing's going to happen is with the batteries, you're also going to start losing its total ability to charge. So your battery pack is actually going to start going bad because you're going through and you're leaving in the cold so much. So if you go through and you're going to be taking the laptop on the road with you, don't leave it in the car overnight or leave it in there for, a couple hours or something like that. If you're going to take it with you, take it inside with you because the cold's going to kill it. The LCD screens themselves, I have seen some that are susceptible to coldness as well. If this one will so kindly open up. LCD screen, you're going to find that you might start getting a little bit of a flicker in it where the screen kind of like pulsates or something of that sort, and that's because sometimes the bulbs themselves, they can't handle the coldness as much either, and they can kind of start losing their ability to do light emission. And sometimes the screens themselves can have a very slow response time because the liquid crystals are very cold, and because they're cold, it makes a lot more effort to make them change. So you can ruin your screen as well. Now, kind of in the same area here, probably going to see this more with laptops than you will with desktops, but with it being very cold out, if you bring your laptop in from the cold and you immediately turn it on, you can actually have condensation start building up in your hard drive. I covered this in a previous video. I think it was actually on hard drive installations. But if you have a system that's literally been outside for a few hours in the cold, something like that, and it's physically cold to the touch, give it at least an hour or two before you turn it on. Because if you don't, hard drives inside, condensation builds up in them, your hard drive starts dying. On top of that, with laptops, because there's so little space in here, all that cold and whatnot, as soon as you bring it to a hot house or a hot office and you go and turn it on, heat's going to build up in there, and there's going to be condensation building up inside of the laptop. And as you can see, there's really nowhere inside of a laptop for that condensation to just kind of dissipate too easily. So you end up corroding components on your board with that condensation. Your hard drive gets condensation in it, doesn't read as good, it starts killing the life of all kinds of components like that. So, and finally, going now onto the desktops. This also counts with desktops too on that condensation thing. If let's say you're a computer tech and you just brought a computer from someone's house, you've had it in your vehicle, you've been driving around doing other jobs that day, and you finally get back to the office, you don't want to just go through and hook it up. You want to give it time to warm up as well. So remember that on your desktops. But now for another thing kind of with the desktops, hopefully you can see it down there. That's a battery backup system. And this time of year, something happens called power outages. No surprise. I figure you don't want to see this darkness under my workbench. So, your systems will basically get to experience power outages this time of year more so than any other time of year. Invest in a battery backup system. Invest in a good surge protector if you don't have the money for it. But if you get a battery backup system, those generally have a really good surge protector, usually better than the just surge protectors themselves, at least the ones they sell nowadays. Well, when the power goes out, your computer's on, and it doesn't have the chance to shut down, your hard drive's going to be spinning, your arm's going to be going through writing stuff, and then all of a sudden it loses power. It's just going to start writing nonsense as it comes across and just goes to its resting position as it spins down. On top of that, if the power drops suddenly, it's not as well of a built hard drive, where it's the older drive, it could just stop right in the middle, and then you go to start up, you're going to scrape away some of your data because those heads will come to a rest on the platter instead of floating over it how they're supposed to. It'd be easier to show you if I had one taken apart, and I unfortunately don't have one here anymore. That's taken apart, that is. So invest in a battery backup. Don't keep your computers outside in the cold and then bring them in, suddenly turn them on, and expect them to be happy computers. They won't. Any computer you bring in from the outside that's been cold, give it a couple hours to warm up, and save your laptops. Don't leave them out in the cold. They don't like it. The batteries die. The screens start fading. The liquid crystals can't keep up with the sudden temperature difference, flickers, slow response times, all kinds of non-pretty stuff. So, take your laptop with you. Make sure it stays nice and warm. That way it doesn't get killed. And hope these tips were useful to you. Until next time, I'll see you later.